I came to California in the late 60s, early 70s from Mexico City with the idea of continuing my arts education at a university in the United States. I was 19 years old. My aunts and my mother's family were living in California, so I decided to come to San Jose State. When I got here, I had no idea my aunt and her family of 11 children and her husband were migrant farm workers. Following the work up and down the states, so I came to stay with them, and at the time they were picking garlic in the Gilroy area close to San Jose. So my aunt thought it was a good idea for me to go work with them, so I did. It was really hard work. We woke up at 4 a.m., made the lunches to be able to be there by 5. In the fields, we got paid $1.35 for a basket of garlic. They were big baskets. There was a worker that was doing 70 baskets a day. Not me. I could fill maybe 7 or 8 baskets a day. The days were hot, my hands were swollen, and my body would be all in pain. But the great thing was my aunt and I would sit down outside the little apartment at night, and I had brought books from Mexico, and I would read to her poetry by Neruda or passages of Sartre talking about existentialism. And we would sit near her porch and discuss intellectual ideas about the world. And we spent beautiful nights, and I was always surprised to see her listening to my readings and asking interesting questions about the great writers I was exposing her to. I'm a crybaby. She was a beautiful lady who just passed last year at the age of 98. Coming from Mexico City, I had no idea about the United States and its people, and especially what it meant to be a Mexican out of Mexico. I was a student coming from a big city, well educated, and I always thought of myself as being smart and curious. So I was surprised and confused by the way people perceived me as a stereotype. I remember the first time somebody told me that I was a Mexican. It was shocking. I was at a hotel, and I could not open the door to my room. So I went down to the lobby and said to the man in the front desk, I could not open the door, and I don't know why. And he responded, "Was, I know why. It's because you're a Mexican." I was very confused. My people were treating me different. White people were treating me different. Since I got to college, graduated, and always been considered smart in my country, but suddenly I was something different and not appreciated. I had no idea there were so many Mexican states, and that people who looked like me did not speak Spanish, or they were not calling themselves Mexicans. So I had been majoring in the arts, as I had in Mexico, but now I changed my major to sociology to understand the phenomenon of Chicanos in America. And that's how I encountered Chicano theater as a tool to learn about my people in the United States. But something very important that I have to talk about is the solitude and the loneliness that one suffers when you become an immigrant. I did not even understand it at the time, not until many years had passed and began to analyze what had happened in my life. I remember coming back from school to my little apartment with no friends, without speaking the language, with nobody to help you to understand your reality or what was happening, or why do people mistrust you, or look at you, or talk at you, or see through you. It is very lonely and sad realization. I wanted to try to understand and to involve myself in this new world of rejection and misunderstandings. So I read as many books I could about Mexican Americans and their history, and because I was an actor and a singer, I decided to be involved with the Chicano theater company in San Jose. It was different in that group, El Teatro de la Gente. a company that was doing plays about police brutality, drugs, education, immigration, workers' rights, etc. Somehow I was accepted by the group, and suddenly I was back in the arts. I made the decision to spend the rest of my life doing political theater to change the perception that this country had of Mexicans. And that has been my commitment, and it's still my commitment. In 1980, I went to a theater conference in LA, and a beautiful woman stood up to speak. She seemed smart, so I asked her out to lunch. At lunch, I suggested that we should live together. She said, but I don't even know you. And I said, hello, my name is Jose Luis Valenzuela. And she and her son Fidel had been with me ever since. After El Teatro de la Gente, I moved to Santa Barbara to work for 7 years with El Teatro de la Esperanza. In 1984, Evelina, Fidel, and I moved to Los Angeles. All I had ever done was act and direct. But in LA, I was a small fish in a big pond, and I had to support a family. I had always been good with numbers and maths, so I went to one of those temp agencies and got a job as a bill collector for a small company that sold office furniture. It was an interesting experience to work in an office in a temporary job, but after 9 months, I was desperate for doing theater. I had brought 2 plays from Santa Barbara. One was The Kiss of the Spider Women by Manuel Puig, and the other one was a Teatro de la Esperanza play called Hijos. I spent 9 months going around theaters in town to see if anybody would give me the opportunity to direct at any of these plays, or if anybody was interested in producing it with me. No luck. So finally, Evelina and I decided to produce it ourselves. She knew theater people in LA, so we found a small theater in East Los Angeles, and I made a deal with the owner, telling him that I will produce the play, and I split the box office 50-50, and he said yes. Evelina was the producer, the casting director, and one of the actors. We held auditions, and some people did not want to be involved with an unknown director, and with such a small production, since we only had $150 in our savings account, and that was going to be our budget for the production. No designers, no stage manager. We had to do everything, the publicity, the design, everything. So we went to work, and we found great people, some of whom are still working with us to this day. Somehow this little play, Hijos, was a success. People came to see it. The reviewers liked it. We ran for 4 or 6 weeks, and we were almost sold out all the time. We got awards, and 2 very important people showed up to see it and invited me to lunch and to see a building they were building for a new theater in downtown. They asked me, what did I want? And I say, I only need a rehearsal room to bring actors together twice a week to do acting exercises and readings of Latino plays. They say yes, that I could have a room 4B. And that's how we began the Latino Theater Company. So I had a rehearsal room, but I still needed a job. I asked them if they had any job for me, and they say the only opening they had was in the accounting department. I say, I'm a great accountant. And they hired me. And that is how my work began in 1985 at the LATC until 1991. During that time, we have our second child, our daughter Esperanza America. In 1981, when the company declared bankruptcy, it wasn't my fault. We moved the company to the Marte Forum, where we created the Latino Theater Initiative. In 1994, I began working at UCLA as the head of the MFA directing program. In 1995, we moved the theater company to Plaza de la Raza, a community center In 2006, we were awarded a 20-year lease to operate the Los Angeles Theater Center. So, Carl, I came to this country with a dream, and I have spent 50 years of my life in the struggle. Not just to make that dream a reality, but to uplift the perception of Latinos in this country. Now, I'm a distinguished professor at UCLA School of Theater, Film, and Television, and the artistic director of the Latino Theater Company and the Los Angeles Theater Center. I have worked hard, but I'm also blessed and a lucky man. Thank you.